gentlemen, this might be the smoothest it's gone yet. That's crazy, crazy. No, no worries. I mean, I still haven't put the tags. I'm just getting to the point where I can like get all the descriptions and stuff in advance. But I mean, we really need like a third person. On down the line, what we need is like an on-site tech. Like this is yeah, way off in the distance. But so I was just reading online that Trump blames Zelensky for the Ukrainian war, which is kind of fun. It's all your fault. Oh, Putin. Right. Well, now they had so one of the big inflection points of fault, right, is that before the war, Zelensky had a peace deal on the table, right, between Russia and Ukraine, and they could have signed it. And as far as everyone seems to be concerned in the universal, the international community, it seemed like he was going to, and then we convinced him not to. We were like, no, 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 you don't need to sign that. We'll take care of, like we got your back and stuff, just be belligerent and we'll protect you, sort of. We didn't say it so easily. Hey, Andrew, hey Tiffany, how y'all doing today? And so yeah, so like does that make it our fault? Does it make it Zelensky's fault? I mean, obviously everybody shares in the blame of a conflict this size, but I really hate that we got involved and told them not to sign a peace deal. Like that's outrageous. And then not we're not willing to like, actually get engaged in the conflict directly to help out, right? Like we're going to get involved to that level and say no, you can't have peace. And we got to be ready to like put tanks on the ground, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah. And they're not allies. I mean, they're not in NATO, they're not in the UN, and then there's like, I mean, so Trump is over there trying to negotiate a deal, and then Zelensky is like talking trash about him behind his back, which is, I mean, at the least, that's in very poor taste, right? If somebody's over there trying to make something, now, of course, things aren't going to fall exactly like Zelensky wants, right? Of course, right? Russia's not going to be I mean, Russia's essentially already gained ground and won a considerable amount of extra property. They're not going to just give it up, not unless we either bring additional leverage to bear or give them something else in exchange, right? And I don't see us doing either of those things, and I don't see. Hold on one second. Tiffany, you say you can only hear me. You can't hear Christian? That's kind of weird. Do you see him? Do you at least see two people in the chat? I just want to make sure this is working. I just want to make sure for everybody who's in chat, can y'all see us both? Can you see us both? Can you hear us both? I can hear you just fine, Christian. I don't know why, but it may be that's weird. Well, I mean, if you can only see and hear me, I'm the important one anyway. So that's crazy. You want to try to like sign out and back in, maybe? Sorry, guys. I thought we had this figured out, but I guess apparently not. Apparently not. Well, thank you for letting me know. I'm glad I didn't like just drone on for an hour straight uh with uh with these gaps. All right. I hit add. All right, so he's coming back. Do you guys see him now?
Are you able to see me? Hello, hello. This is Christian.
This is like a phone commercial. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm back on. I can see it.
Woo!
All
right, we finally got it. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. So yeah, where? Sorry to cut you off. Where were you?
No, but that this is much more of a security, not an American security concern. It's a European concern.
Right.
The one area where America feels responsible is right, and Obama and Biden felt responsible for is that the Democrats, Obama convinced. Well, actually, it was Clinton convinced Ukraine to give up all of their nuclear weapons,
right,
in exchange for security guarantees, the border integrity, their border, right, and so there was that alliance, which was never ratified by our Senate or formalized, but the Democrats especially have felt like they wanted to keep that word, and you know, obviously there was some stuff we could never trust. The Biden administration was being completely non-conflict, interest free in their dealings with Ukraine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've made lots of promises over the years, which, you know, on the one side, we should make good anytime we make somebody a security guarantee. Like if we say, you know, we're not going to move west of here or east of here, you know, of this line, then we should, for the most part, honor that unless there's a considerable modification in the international terrain. And if we also likewise
25 years at least, that's 25 to maybe potentially even 30 years is a long time to expect a security guarantee. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
We warranty this for 30 years. The 30-year guarantee is pretty good. I mean, can we always?
That's fair. That's fair, right? Yeah, because it's like any one of those other games. Like if you play Risk, right? Like you can say, all right, we're gonna be on the same team, but it doesn't last forever, right? After everybody else is off the board, you know, eventually you have to be like, all right, nobody left, gotta attack you, you know, like.
Right. I mean, Ukraine was gonna have to be responsible for their own border security, and ultimately, because they didn't worry about that, they weren't spending enough money on their own security, and where it was going into corrupt officials' pockets. There was a lot of corruption going on because, right, you had America paying for everything, guaranteeing your security. Why should we be, you know? And so that's the type of stuff that Trump has no patience for anymore. He doesn't want the U.S. being abused like that.
Now, one question. This is like the classic argument, right? The classic back and forth, and I still have not made up my mind on this. One of the games to be played here is, you know, so America can take essentially two different postures, right? On the one side, we can be the police of the universe, right? And anytime anything goes wrong anywhere, we can fix it. And on the other side, we can we can kind of put things on the back burner and let people solve their own problems and have self-determination. Now, the trouble is, if we are not the police force of the world, then it encourages every other nation, rightly so, to gain in their own power, right? It encourages them to take care of themselves, which makes perfect sense. But if everyone is constantly trying to build and develop and increase their defense expenditures and become stronger, more militarily capable, then it also increases the number of threats in the world, right? Because now no one can rely on us to defend them, and therefore they have to all be strong and capable themselves. And then that means when there's a problem, now we're fighting against a near peer. We're fighting against someone who's been building up this whole time because they've had to. So this is the classic game, right? Like, I don't know where exactly we should fall, and I'm sure it should be somewhere in the middle, right? And everything is a case-by-case basis, but I don't know. I personally err on the side of trying to be hands off. I err on the side of like if we don't have to get involved, that we shouldn't. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, because I know that we definitely influence the way everybody else manages their nation. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I would agree. I mean, our those watching chime in as well. I think that's a good place that we should be skeptical about jumping into situations and evaluate each one on its own merit. its own
Right.
terms, and decide and based on what commitments we've made in the past, what benefit it has to us in the future, if should this conflict go either way, and to what cost are we? I mean, even if we decide to intervene, it's not a blank check. It's
Right.
not endless costs. It's like to what point, and that we have supported Ukraine, and hopefully this was to get them at a point to negotiate something better, to make Russia realize that they couldn't just have a 2-week war and take over a sovereign nation, that there was indeed considerable treasure and loss of life, and that will be with them should they decide to further their territorial gains,
Right.
um, and it's sort of exposed them to being not as formidable a military as they represented.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so we supported Ukraine on a page, and I was talked into it. I was supportive of military intervention. I thought the State Department and the Biden administration and the world, the media, gave me enough that when Putin invaded, I was supportive of supporting the Ukrainians. Right?
Really, you bought it, huh? I
Yeah,
did.
so I was with them. I was with them at point. I felt like that it justified our intervention to support them. That doesn't mean that that's endless. That does mean that just because I supported in 2022, that in 2025 it's this. We need to make a blank check. Now is the
Right.
time. Russia has been considerably weakened in their war-making powers. Ukraine has been considerably weakened in their defensive powers. But now is the time for negotiation. I don't want to. Ideally, it would be a solution that ends fighting and doesn't lead to just a buildup and just a war delayed.
Right.
But
Yeah.
again, those might be things that are beyond our control. Maybe even the U.S. can expect that whatever's negotiated, Ukraine won't resent and feel angry about. Russia should expect an insurgency in their occupied territories, things like that. Like
Yeah.
we can't guarantee Russian peace in their hostile takeover.
Right. Yeah. Now, guys, I mean, for those of you who are just joining in, we're still talking about the Ukraine and Russia conflict because there's been some recent news about that. And of course, Trump is over there trying to negotiate, and now he's having a little tiff with Zelensky. So now this is my thing about this now is that no matter how you do it, you can't have it both ways, right? So you can't both have America managing your your negotiations and then also have us like fighting a war for you on your behalf and also managing like we're doing it all, and this is what's driving me nuts. It's like Trump's over there trying to like secure peace, and it's if you take us out of the equation, right, if America isn't here, there is no Ukraine. Like without us feeding them intel, without us selling them arms, without us doing bing bang boot, with like we're literally supplying tons of like consultants and CIA officers on the ground, like in military personnel to teach them how to and putting daggone coordinates in their tracking systems. And meanwhile, they're like, oh no, we don't want you involved because you're just going to mess everything up and give away land to Russia. It's like, all right, look, you don't want us involved. There will be no Kiev tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that, we go away, Ukraine goes away.
Yeah.
And we're talking. So successful electronics. We're talking about Ukraine and Russian conflict, and about how Trump and Zelensky are fighting each other online right now. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what the chat has to say about this because the other side of this is like I see everybody in online. They put up these like Ukrainian flags and stuff, and they get all behind Ukraine. They're like, "Yeah, Ukraine, and we're saving democracy." When first of all, Ukraine isn't a democracy, and second of all, we're not saving them. We're just bleeding them dry slowly over 1,000 cuts. We're not stopping this. Like, and so I think I hope that for those out there that really love Ukraine, I hope that they realize that the best that we can hope for right now is a complete and total surrender of the Donbass region, and then redraw the lines and then stop it there with some security guarantees in place on both sides so that it doesn't go anywhere. But that's the best you can ask for. Like, if you want, if
And
you're expecting Russia to give up their land,
yeah. Should we
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah,
making these security guarantees? That's part of the thing. I mean, they're now hating America. Well, we have given them treasure and support and have been there when nobody else was there. But right when we say, look, we can't continue this. We have regime change here in America. We don't have endless governments. We've got
right,
we have a democracy, and you don't have the support of the American people to continue this at the level we're finding it now. And there have been some troubling reports. The haven't been confirmed, at least to me, but of potential corruption of some of the arms that have gone to Ukraine have been sold elsewhere. And those are things like that the Ukrainians themselves, the people, have not stepped up and they're not fighting a total war to
right.
so if they're not if they're not fighting a total war, it's hard for us to it feels like Vietnam when we partnered with the South Vietnamese, and they were sort of a little bit wishy-washy in their commitment, and it was like, oh boy, we're
Right.
on the wrong, and but obviously Europe, because this is close to Europe, is much more in their interest. But they should be able to
Right.
handle this. Yeah.
Like, this is right next to them, right? Yeah. Hey, so yeah, Tiffany's saying, like the truth is, one of the things that I realized getting back into this with Christian is that politics is like a never-ending rabbit hole, right? Like, you can get to the point where just to stay informed can become like a 5 hour a day, 6 hour a day job, like, to do it right. And that's the biggest problem, right? Like, one of the things that I wanted to talk today about is, like, if let's say you're just the average everyday American citizen and you're watching this Ukraine conflict, you're not getting straight stuff from the media. Like, nobody's
No.
like, go online today and try to figure out where the death toll is in that conflict right now. You're not going to find it. And if you find it, it is not going to be accurate. Like, I guarantee it, it's not going to be. They have lost over 1 million lives, probably on both
Spin
sides.
zone.
Yeah.
Spin.
Yeah, they want to exactly. That is exactly correct, Tiffany. They want you to be oblivious. They don't want you to know the truth. And just to find out the truth, it takes like hours out of your day to do. Like, I have to watch everything on the right wing. I have to watch everything on the left wing. I have to go to independents. I have to fact check everything afterwards. And that's like, watching everything on both sides is like, just to make sure that I have the right stories to start researching. Like, I'm not getting my information from them, because if I do, I'm just wasting my time, because they're not going to
Yeah.
tell me the truth either.
Yeah. I mean, any reports now require a lot of discernment, right?
I
X,
appreciate
X,
it.
X is the format right now that has the least amount of censorship, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that there could also be reports out that you need to look carefully. You can't. So as a common person, right? We're common. Our political. We are not elites. We don't have privy to special reports, but
Right.
we just have to look at it and evaluate it like as common people, right? As the day go by, and just because what was right in 2022 doesn't mean it's still right in 2025. And
Precisely.
just because we would like Russia to do something differently, if we're not willing to make them, we have to accept alternatives.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's sort of political. We don't have to negotiate that, but as common people, we need to accept that and sort of prepare ourselves mentally that that's what's
Right.
going on.
Right. Yeah. And right. It's like you said, things change over time. So it's like, just because in 2022, when both of the forces seemingly had all of their supplies, all of their artillery, all of their whatever ammunition, all their people, and now, several years later, both of them have dwindled down to like almost nothing. But Russia still has lots and lots and lots of people left. Like, they're not about to lose any second. So now the terrain is different. So now you have to adjust, and now we have to we have to work with what we've got. Now, along those lines, though, along the fact that the media is spinning propaganda 24/7, have you seen some of the stuff that's come out about DOGE on the left wing side? Oh,
Excuse
hope
me.
you're all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so just the most recent stuff that I've seen. Basically, this is what drives me nuts about the media, especially the left wing propaganda engine. Is like this DOGE thing, this investigation, this audit into the government is, for all intents and purposes, an absolute win for everyone. Everyone. Like there is not a single American citizen that does not benefit from the government being more efficient and getting rid of waste and fraud. Not a single person,
I
except
people
for
that
the
are
people.
losing their jobs. People that are
Yeah,
losing their jobs.
well, I mean, even them probably will stand to benefit in the long run. But the
Yeah.
one person who it definitely
Totally.
doesn't benefit are the people who are formally performing corruption and can no
Yeah.
longer.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
that is definitely true. So that's fair. But yeah. So meanwhile, like I go on the left wing news media, and it's like nothing but like whining and moaning and crying about like the stupidest stuff you can imagine, like the age of the auditors. Like, and I'm
Well,
oh,
well, the good news today, right? A judge did come down and say that DOGE was legal.
of course.
They couldn't block what DOGE. So, and we knew that was so. Um, the judicial reviews that there's going to be judicial fight back, but they're starting to come down on the president's side, which we knew they would. But having that will help hopefully calm people down that there's legitimacy in this. Um, One of the things, right, that you didn't know about this, I explained to you, and maybe a lot of people don't know it if you're not following politics, but the Secretary of the Treasury, longtime Treasury guy. You look at him in a suit, he looks like he was born in a suit, boring kind of guy in his late 60s. Uh, he's the one who's been holding press conference validating these are Treasury employees. We want DOGE. I'm giving them read-only access. But he is also the highest level openly gay official in any administration. Right?
Yep, and I had no idea about this. I guess I
Now,
I hadn't researched him, but yeah,
yeah, well, because it's merit based. He flew through Senate confirmation. There was nobody objecting to him because he's obviously super qualified. He
right,
didn't get a job because he's gay. There was
right,
no sort of quota, and so that was trumpeted on the right at all. But I've had a few people on the left that I've talked to when they've opposed, the DOJ. I'm like, the DOJ guy is a longtime Washingtonian, really experienced guy, worked on the Treasury for a long time, and he's openly gay.
right,
And then they don't know what to believe. They're
right.
like, and he's the one who's holding press conferences saying that these are Treasury employees. He knows exactly what access they're giving them, and they're giving him information. He's the one that's making the changes, which is
Right.
constitutional, and the judge is ruling that. So yes, DOGE is finding things that are politically advantageous for the right, but that doesn't mean the left gets to stop it just
Right.
because it's bad for them politically.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny whenever I've seen this happen many times, especially when I'll bring up someone like Thomas Sowell, who's of course a brilliant African American economist, stuff like that. I'll often hear like this litany of objections from the left, but then and I'll start quoting someone like that, or like now we can use the Secretary of Treasury, and then it's like, and they'll want to say that this is ridiculous, that it's just right wing propaganda, and then I'll mention that it's like a minority or protected class, and they're all of a sudden they're like. I have spoken against a protected class. Whatever will I do? And it's like, and the funny thing is like, meanwhile, I'm sitting here, I'm like, that doesn't make your objection any less valid. Your objection is not valid because it's actually just not valid, not because they're a protected class, right?
Yeah.
But of course, I'm using that cheap trick to my advantage because I'm like, I know what they're going to think.
Now, if you want to hear the most slanted left-wing propaganda response I've seen to DOGE right now was John Oliver. I just watched his response, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And completely not giving both sides at all really or anything, and showing sort of the least compelling waste things at USAID, painting USAID as this really essential, humanitarian organization. That's how they want people to think of them, not as something that has counteracted our State Department for years and has willingly given money that they know will fall into terrorist hands, has turned a blind eye toward corruption. And now the change being where the State Department will administer all legitimate aid is completely like, who says no to that? And yet, they're painting, these poor USAID employees and things like that.
Oh
But,
yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine. We definitely should have him on the show. He's very, very left leaning, but very, very intelligent, extremely, extremely intelligent. I often use him to parse some of the stuff that I get from the left wing media because I'm like, what on earth are they talking about? He can sometimes explain it to me in a way that I at least understand where they're coming from. And he was talking today, and he's like, one of the things he found ironic is that a lot of the people who are getting laid off from USAID and from these government agencies are actually like working in red states. And I'm like, oh, okay. Is that a big deal? Like, right. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, I mean,
Well, right.
don't get me
The
wrong.
big
Like,
thing they're going to start spinning is the loss of that they put a freeze on hiring national park employees. Right.
yeah,
And it's, everybody likes national park employees, right? Because right now nobody likes bureaucrats that are working from home,
right.
And not really working, and then not caring enough to audit obvious corruption that was their responsibility to speak up for, right? And so nobody likes those people, so they're not going to be the face of the government downsizing. But I mean, the problem for the left is their spokespeople are AOC and Chuck Schumer.
Right. Right. Which let's don't even.
These people
right?
can mention anyone. I mean, AOC, she looks good on TV, and she gets a lot of, but she's not changing anybody's mind. And Schumer is such an incompetent communicator that nobody can stand to listen to him without changing the channel.
He's
Right?
thoroughly unlikable, 100%. Not to mention, like definitely not grounded in reality often. And that's the problem. Like when I hear AOC and Chuck Schumer talk, even if they were otherwise to try to communicate a good point, they're not trying. They're trying to only exclusively spin this like left wing, like super ultra radical propaganda. And it's like it. Once again, you and I've talked about this many times, and you brought this up as like a key point is when you're not in power, right? Like when the other team has the ball, your goal is to just like to be strategic, right? Not to just try to like wear everybody out and use this full court press for every second of the game, right? Because nobody really does that, right? The game is to be strategic, and I would truly respect anybody on the left who came to me and said, look, most of this stuff, this corruption that you're finding is really good. We'd like to save this one program, like national parks, right? And that's where politics can find some balance. That's where we can maybe give a little bit, you can take, right? But if it's like you have to stop every single thing that Trump does in an executive order, then you lose all credibility. Then there's no room for giving because then everything is, we have to put the same full court press up, right? And then no one gets anywhere, and except for us because we've got all the power, right? Like, and not only that, like okay, national parks. It's just one of those things where this is my little pet peeve. For those of you guys who watch the channel, you know that I'm a big 10th Amendment guy. There are very few parks that span across state lines. Right. And so as a consequence, there are very few parks in America that actually need to be run federally. Everything else can be run by the state and local governments. That's the 10th Amendment in general. It is not, national parks are not an enumerated power on Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. They are not a federal power.
There's a law.
Not that I'm saying that they're bad, right? I like national parks. I would love to visit more national parks, but That does, it's just one of those things that, like, we got to be careful about how we fight for things and what we fight for. That might be the one thing to fight for if you're from the left, right? But not literally every single thing. Like, oh God, don't look at the IRS, don't look at Social Security recipients. I mean, never mind that there are literally people that are 360 years old getting Social Security. 360 years. Now, I haven't met this person. I'm sure they're very special. But 360? I mean, come on.
No, that's a problem with the COBOL code. We'll find real corruption, but their birthdates are wrong in there. But yeah, but
look,
that could still invalidate something. Having a lack of birth date should invalidate Social Security.
Right. Well, and just this is the point, right? So this is where the propaganda comes in and says, "Oh, the Republicans are so stupid. They think that there's somebody that's actually 360 years old." That's literally what the left-wing channels are saying. And I'm like, they're like, they must not know that this is a COBOL code glitch. I'm like, really? You really think that we don't know that? And now, I mean, guys, it's obviously a glitch. That's the whole point. That's why Elon Musk is bringing it up, is that he's found these ridiculous glitches that should be obvious to the most casual observer, and yet somehow they've escaped notice. Millions and millions and millions of instances of escaping notice. That's the whole point.
Sorry, now, you know the number one most visited state national park is?
No.
50 points to Gryffindor. It's in North Carolina.
What was this? This is I didn't hear exactly what you said.
The national park that is visited the most.
Oh,
the most visited national park, the most, and it's the one that the most citizens go to.
Appalachian Trail?
No, Smoky Mountains National Park.
Smoky Mountains, okay. I could have seen that, yeah.
And it's in Tennessee and Virginia and Kentucky and
see, and that would make sense.
It was one of the first ones, and North Carolina. Yeah. So that's one that has. But it's also, there's so much people that live inside there. It's not like Yellowstone. You can't buy any houses and live inside any national park, but you can live basically inside Smoky Mountains National Park.
Right. Same thing for the Appalachian Trail. There's tons of people that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the left. They're so bent on taking the opposite position of Trump that they're going to take, positions that are 30% favorability, right? And give Trump the common ground and the 70% favorability in some of the issues. But ultimately, I mean, if they can have a real ideas, real improvement for government that aren't self-serving, where government is helping. And one of the things John Oliver said was like, all right, so there was a women's health clinic that helps people who have STDs in South Africa that has shut down because USAID has been suspended.
Oh, no.
Like, do they not have any of their own aid? Are they getting grants from nobody else? Is the government paying nothing? Are they not reaching out to any other? There's so many charitable organizations out there for women's health. Are they reaching out to none of them? That one of your aid things, they closed the door, they put up the fences, and they had this woman who walked by who was clearly wearing a dress in the middle of the day, the dress of a streetwalker, who's coming saying, "This is where I get my free drugs to clear up my STDs. Where am I going to go?" And they asked them, are there other clinics or hospitals? I mean, they're in Johannesburg, so you can go to a hospital. There's lots of hospital room there, but she's like, "Well, this is where my appointment was. I don't know." And it was like, she wasn't crying or anything, but this is sort of like, look, Africa's going to have to solve some of their problems. Look,
right. Oh, did you see
I'm sorry if this NGO is doing so much good, maybe they can reach out to other funding sources. They don't have to rely 100% on USAID. I think they should be operating independently, and then maybe we give them a little bit extra. But if our funding's delayed for 90 days and they shut their doors immediately, come on.
Yeah.
We should be funding 100% any organization like that.
Did you see there was a short I found the other day with the former president of Kenya, and he's out there talking to the crowd, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna try to impersonate because it was just funny the way he said, he's like, oh, some of you are crying, oh,
Oh
Donald
yeah,
Trump
yeah,
is
yeah.
not gonna send any more money, not any more money. Why are you crying? This is not your country. This is not your government. Why are you
You don't
crying?
pay taxes? Yeah.
Like, they don't, this is government. He's got to appeal to his own people. Let this be a wake up call to you. And it's like, oh my God, thank you. Somebody said, like, why is this so complicated? Right? Like, I, I, I'm getting mad that we're taking care of our own states when the states should be taking care of themselves, much less somebody on the other side of the planet who has nothing to do with us, isn't an ally, and probably doesn't even like us, right? And for items that I would be ideologically opposed to, like we're helping out with like DEI and trans, and like I don't want to help somebody in Africa have a bunch of sex. Why would I give them so much contraceptive? Like, why would that be a priority for me?
Yeah, you right, and then the doctors, right, who have so much integrity to go out there and provide aid to sex workers in South Africa, as soon as they're not getting their generous benefits, boom, they close up shop right away.
Oh, right,
You
right.
know?
Yeah, right. Many of these are right. This is like a lot of times this is USAID paying like another organization who's supposed to be like an NGO, right? Like or supposed to be a charitable organization who's out there doing this stuff, and then the moment like they're not getting subsidized to the tune of our billions of dollars, I'm like, now theoretically that shouldn't change anything, right? Like if these people are really there to do the good works, then they should stay there to do the good works, right? This shouldn't change anything. They should maybe seek funding elsewhere. But
Let's have a broad
if
base
the
of
moment the
grants.
money dries up, they dry up, then we know that they weren't actually there to accomplish the task. They were there to collect the dollars. That's it. So this is pretty obvious. This is like bare bones. But of course, the left wing is going to make it seem like USAID was just this immaculate state.
Humanitarian organization, the largest humanitarian organization in the world. And yeah. So the John Oliver spin on that was crazy, and I think that's the challenge for media consumers. And I think why you come here to see the common man, the common people are capable of seeing through that spin. We're capable. We're not elites, but we're intelligent enough to look at this and say no.
Right.
No, I mean, you want us to feel a certain way about that issue, and that's why you're presented in this way. But we're not, right? We're not tools, and that's not something. That's not the crisis you're making it out to be, right? And it's not something we can't help everybody, right? They need to start like the Kenyan president start thinking about how they're going to take care of these things for themselves. When the right, gifts are gifts, don't have any rights to
No
keep giving
entitlement.
big gifts. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, yeah, right. So being in for those of you who know me well, like Tiffany probably knows me well enough. She knows that I run a casino online, right? I run a kind of a gambling business, right? And it's legal now, so I can say that out loud. And meanwhile, like I can't tell you how many times, that just part of the business is people will borrow from me. That's just part of the business, right? Occasionally they'll be out and need to borrow a couple bucks to play, and then occasionally they'll get me back and stuff, and that's just part of the game. But anytime they get to the point where they start expecting it of me, oh, they get slapped down real hard. The moment they start saying like, and I make a point to tell them, like they'll come to me and say, "Yo, man, throw me this and throw me that," and I'm like, "You mean may I please have this and may I please have that? Because recall, this isn't your money, right? I don't
Yeah.
have to give you anything." And in the moment they get to the point where they're so entitled that they start expecting it, they just have their hands out, and if you don't put something in it, they're like, like you're making the mistake, then it's like, you can find yourself somewhere else to play. That's the game, right? And
Favors,
that's
yeah,
and,
gifts.
and
Yeah.
let's talk about the common sense of like when you're America, right? And like think about this in your own lives. When you're doing well financially and a friend reaches out to you for a couple bucks, no problem. Right? When you're doing well, when you've got the grace coming in and your finances are flush and you're in the green and a friend says, "Let me borrow some gas money," no problem. But if it's the other way around and you're up to your eyeballs in credit card debt and you don't have that kind of extra money and your friend comes out to you and says, let me borrow money, then you say, listen, I really don't have it this month. The same thing goes for America. Guys, we are not doing well. We are $36 trillion in debt. This is not the time to be lending our friends in South Africa $20, right? This is the time where we have to say, I'm sorry, I just don't have it right now. I'll come
So,
get you when we're in
yeah,
better shape. That's
yeah.
how it,
Start making plans for your backup plans. What's plan B? Oh, you don't have plan B? This is not a crisis that you didn't have a plan B. This is
right.
not my fault. This is not America's fault. And I'm not going to be made to feel guilty that a service did not have a plan B.
Right.
So
We shouldn't even be, that shouldn't even be plan B. That should be plan A. We should be plan like G or something like that. Like if all of your other plans fall through, maybe you go look to us to help out. But like, guys, oh my gosh. And if I have to hear one more person say the word soft power like they're a geopolitician, like overnight, like they just stayed at the Holiday Inn Express last night and became a whiz at it. Oh my God, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, South Africa is doing nothing that we want.
Yeah.
Nothing. None of our soft power has given us any type of ingratiation with their leaders and politicians.
Speaking of, that's the recent one that I've had to deal with online in like on my my online forums with Facebook and X and stuff. And I'll have these debates, and they're like, "Don't you think that we should be helping Canada? They're a major ally." I'm like, major at what exactly? Like, what exactly is it that you think they're major at? Like, if we go to war, we're going to be like, oh, thank God, China's not going to attack us now because Canada's on our side.
Does Canada have a single aircraft carrier?
Yeah, I don't even think they have that. No, they don't. They don't have a carrier group. The matter of fact, far as I know, the only thing that Canada has that's anything at all is they have a halfway decent, and I mean halfway decent spec ops group, and that's it. The rest of their army, military, like they've got those dudes in the red hats that don't move when you walk by. That's about it.
No.
Right?
Their ice-breaking technology is cutting edge. No, but yeah, Canada has never had an aircraft carrier of its own.
No, they don't have they don't have a real navy. They don't have a real army. They don't have a real Marines. They don't have an Air Force. They have a decent spec ops group. That's it. And nowhere of in the realm of the level of SEALs or Mossad or anything like that. Just capable enough to run their own operations when they have to, if they have to.
I don't know. Their moose riding technology is years ahead.
Moose riding. Moose riding. They probably ride one better than I do, anyway.
I mean, it would take us probably at least 18 months to catch up. I mean,
yeah, well, I don't think
we can't have a moose riding gap. We need some money in this.
I don't think I'd ever catch up with my prostatitis. I'd be like, nah, you got me.
The new Fort Bragg needs to get special ops that can ride mooses better than the Canadians. Now this is important.
The new Moose Cavalry.
Yes.
Speaking of forts, did you see that Elon Musk is considering Elon Musk and Trump are considering auditing Fort Knox?
Absolutely.
Actually have that kind of gold on hand. Now I swear to God, if we don't, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna flip out of my chair and be like, we're just giving away gold bars to people? Like, what is this?
Well, we should have gold bars in not just Fort Knox, but at least in 3 or 4 other places. Right. Fort Knox is just the famous one because it's been in movies. It was in Goldfinger, and they like to have that the visible one. And people think about that so that they can store gold in Fort Bragg or someplace that's secure or whatever. So the audit of Fort Knox isn't as interesting as the audit of our gold reserves wherever they are. They don't have to necessarily disclose that to me if that's classified, but that we have them. If they're just like, no, those are better than gold. Those are IOUs.
It wasn't Scooby. That's right. I forgot about that. It's been a long time since I saw that movie. I visited once. I thought it was pretty cool. You know,
Fort
they
Knox,
didn't.
Kentucky. I
Yeah,
have not been.
yeah, they don't show you the gold or anything like that.
Yeah,
You just like get to see the fort, which is like it's basically just like dug into the ground. So it's kind of cool though. But it's like but I have seen. I wasn't a. This is kind of like a tangent, but I saw the gold coinage reserves in the Smithsonian Institute, which is awesome. They have an exhibit that's like every other exhibit in Smithsonian for the most part. You can just like walk through, like meander through. This one exhibit is like behind this steel vault door that's like 3 feet thick and like would take 4 people to move the door. It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, they have these like $50 gold coins that I'm sure are worth, several million, probably 20, 30 million bucks a piece.
yeah. You know
It's,
about the Mormon $50 and $20 gold pieces? You heard
I
of
heard
those?
about those. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, the Utah was the first place to mint a gold piece that was $50 and $20. Just that unit had never been minted
Right.
before.
Yeah. The double
So
eagle and yeah, that's insane. That's some, I'd love to, I'm a long time coin collector. So I used to have some cool stuff like that till somebody stole it, but well, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, this stuff drives me crazy. Like I don't. This should be an absolute win for everybody. And what drives me nuts is like, especially for the left, right? Like for me, some of these programs like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, these are not programs that I'm happy with anyway, right? Like I'm a conservative, I'm a true conservative, so I don't like these programs. I know for certain that they shouldn't be run at the federal level, but like it's one of those things where the left should be ecstatic to see this kind of efficiency increase because that
yeah,
means
entitlements are the one thing that should have the lowest threshold for fraud.
right.
Right?
And this is they're going to last the longest, these programs, if the efficiency is the best, right? Like Social Security is always already at the point where like for all these programs we're going to have to start like either raising taxes or some other austerity measure just to keep it alive. But that's not the case. If we find fraud and waste and get rid of it, we'll be able to hold on for a little bit longer. So you'd think
Yeah.
that this would be like right up their alley. Like you would think they'd love this. But no.
Well, it's new technology, right? So part of the thing was Reagan tried to do this when he first came in the 80s. But like, it was too expensive to do this kind of honor. He didn't have a Republican Congress. He didn't have a Republican Senate.
Didn't
He
have
had a
any.
Senate, but not a Republican Congress, and he definitely had a left-leaning judiciary. And so he was limited in what he could do. He did some things and we did some agencies, but he couldn't. He couldn't do this. Then Al Gore tried to cut costs, and he actually was able to reduce about $180 billion in his cost cutting in the late 90s when the contract with America when Newt Gingrich and the Democrat Party went to the center, right,
Yep.
on balanced budgets. But now with AI, with technology, and with some very bright minds, right, we're able to get at and understand these things in a way that has failed in the past. And that new picture that's emerging is not the way what we've been told, right? And it's difficult to spin that for the people that are interested in maintaining a large government, which is the left and the media, where the government is the answer to all problems, right? For us, we see no, the government should be the last option, right? That should be Plan
Right.
G, right? Unless it's an aircraft carrier that I need to keep, anybody from messing with our territory. The American government is Plan G.
Yes. And see, one of the things that let's see, who was I talking to the other day? We were talking about the systems and why it's better to work it from the bottom up and than from the top down. One of the big differences between those two structures, those two styles, for those of you guys out there, is like if you're in a system where everything is mandated from the top down, right, and everybody has to follow those same broad rules, then any other system that crops up, if it doesn't fit within those broad rules, it's going to be stricken down immediately, right? If you go the other direction, right, from the bottom up, then anything that there's not many rules at the top. So there's all these different flexibilities underneath it. So like if you're, for example, if you're a conservative and you have a conservative government and the government doesn't impose itself in every little aspect of your life, but you want that. You want that kind of government imposition in your life. You want everybody to pitch in, for example, or you want to live in a commune and have all your health care taken care of by the collective, or you want all the food to be pooled, then you can do that. You can live in a little community where everyone agrees to do that. No one stops you. But they do stop you if you go the other way around. Like if I'm in a communist government and I want to live in this little pocket of conservatism where the government doesn't tell me what to do, that's impossible. They won't let you do that. So that's one of the huge advantages of it going the other way around. So I'd love for people to finally get on board with that. Like I have no problem with a lot of the things that people come up with, like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. Some of these are great ideas for those little communities that you want to join in your, free time. And as long as everybody's okay with it, I got no problem with it. The moment I have a problem with it is when you start compelling the participation of others.
Technically, you can opt out of Social Security, like when you're a kid or something like that. You can deny.
God, hold on, let me do that tonight.
It's really difficult, especially once you start paying in. They don't make it easy for you. It's not something you can do on a web page, or or things like that. But you can. There is, you probably need to hire an attorney to do it. But technically, they have to allow that you can opt out of Social Security.
Yeah,
or for your children, you don't have to get the card.
I heard that it was like technically unconstitutional, and so if you hire a constitutional attorney, you can fight it. That's what I heard, but I don't know if that's accurate.
They just make it like it takes a long time and money so that people want to do it, but they have to technically have a mechanism to do it now.
I'm
kind of interested in the Rand Paul influence that will then come. So once this audit, which I expect we should expect it to take 6 months at minimum, probably 9 months.
Yep.
And then when we start cutting these things, all right, what things go back on the docket, right?
Yeah.
What things, and to justify it rather than this sounds good. So have you heard of the Rand Paul had a really good speech about Davy Crockett. Have you ever heard his Davy Crockett speech?
I've heard of it. I haven't heard the speech.
Look it up on YouTube or look it up. But essentially, where there was some disaster or something, and shouldn't the federal government, step in and provide funds to help these people out? And he was like, whoa. Yes, this is, but what about the state? I mean, should we really be plan one, right? And it was like, because this is precious taxes we're talking about, and this is we're talking 1830s here, so very different as far as they didn't even have the income tax or the things that we're used to now. But the type of what we'd hope people to feel a little more judicious and responsible for the expenditures of funds, not just because emotionally, let's just sort of bleeding heart. Oh, we should just rush in and give them some money. Well, let's see, should the state or should the local, are there other options for them, right? And then at the end of the day, right, maybe we're playing E or F or something like that. Let's see what happens, because then as soon as we start jumping in right away, then nobody starts planning for it. They're just like, oh, we'll just get bailed out.
Absolutely. We should be plan at least plan D, right? Like, I mean, the first plan for like, all right, if if I have financial troubles, and heaven forbid, right? Like, I don't want anybody out there to ever have financial troubles. And if you do, my heart goes out to you. And I mean, once we get to the point where we're super wealthy off of this channel, we'll help out, right? Be happy to. But if I'm in trouble, right, the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go, hey, Christian, my man, look, you know what I mean? Like, that's the first plan.
Your family, your friends, the people
friends, local community, church, charity, then local government, state government, then federal government. Like, federal government should be the last thing that you're looking for to manage these problems, right? That's That's just how it is. And
And when
man,
you go, yeah, when you go to your local government, hey, I need some temporary housing for a month or so before I start getting my first paycheck of this job, and they say, oh, let me fill out all these forms for federal government aid, right? That's like when they have bothered to not set up anything local. They just right
right.
piggyback off the federal. And so it's like, why would we even waste time and money? The federal HUD will take care of all of this or something like that. So that's the thing. This should be federalism. Should be something the states take care of their own, and we'll see. I know disasters tougher, especially here in North Carolina. People sort of expect FEMA. Well, right, roads and certain things that private individuals don't care for. The big thing is these insurance companies have been shafting people, and it's tougher to know where you go for that. So
Well, the other
the certain expectations have been set that the federal government or FEMA will do certain things, and that's another audit. That's going to need to maybe change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the other thing to that is the federal government. One of the things that one of the biggest problems with reaching out to the federal government first all the time is that you grow that dependency, right? And federal government's encouraged it. They've definitely because that's more power for them, right? If someone's like always reaching out to you the first thing, then that means that you're the one that they're coming to. You're the one that has the power in that relationship. And it's gotten to the point where we've become so reliant on the federal government for disaster relief. We've become so reliant for education. We've become so reliant for all these things that the moment that, proverbial rug is taken out from under our feet, we're like, oh, what are we going to do? And we're all like flipping out. But the thing is why can't we go back to the days where governments planned in advance for problems, right? Like having coffers is something that like goes back thousands of years, right? Governments have had money to handle issues for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Like we're the only government, probably we might be the first government that has decided that instead of like building up money from taxes, we're just going to like use more than we get. Like that's the craziest thing on earth. And anywhere else in time, anywhere else on earth, it would not have ever worked, right? Like you go back to the kingdoms in the medieval times, those dudes had money lying around. You go back in, the dark ages, you go back into, prehistory, you like these guys, they had resources that were set up so that if something went wrong, you were ready. And that should be the case in your personal life. It should be the case in the state government. It should be the case in the national government. The state government, if a hurricane comes through North Carolina, there is no excuse for North Carolina not being ready for that. None. No excuse at all. Now, I've got no problem with them saying, hey, Virginia, we had a rough weather year. Could you help out a little bit? No problem with that. And we'll get you back next year. But they should be ready. They should be on point. And like when they should
Well,
have emergency.
I will defend with someone. The hurricanes on the coast, they have
They're
a
right.
long history of being ready for those. They have building codes. This didn't hit the coast. It came up and hit a part of the state that, with frankly just water, a lot of water, that
Yeah,
they
but
weren't ready for. And
money,
you're
money.
right. That's something they should have built roads to withstand that, and should have had a plan for how can we fix roads? How can we get it,
Yeah,
so.
well, yeah, you're right, and mobilizing the help to that zone is a challenge. But
It's
money is
different.
money, right? Like it's not like they didn't realize that hurricanes hit North Carolina, right? Like that's not a surprise. And so the fact that the money should have been there, right? I keep hearing over and over again that North Carolina is in trouble monetarily, and like then I go to the courthouse to pay for my court costs, and I see a line that's 700 people deep paying $250 a pop. And I'm like, this happens every Monday. And I'm like, how could they have money trouble? How is that possible? Like, I don't get it. And so, and that's just one facet of North Carolinian revenue, just one.
Yeah.
Right? Never mind the fact that we take taxes. Never mind the fact that never mind the fact that we have a toll road and stuff like that. Like, there's just so many other places where we get money. And meanwhile, I'm like looking at this line and I'm like, and these guys aren't fighting their tickets. They're like, ka-ching, 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 over and over and over again. I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to hear anything about you guys missing money. Nothing. I don't want to hear none of that. Because if I had people lining up to hand me $250 a pop, I'd be doing just fine. So, all right. Well, that's all I had for the day.
No, I think it's right. The common man should be skeptical when the government cries that they're starved of money, and should be skeptical of people complaining about audits.
Yes.
So let's be efficient. Let's get the information out there. Then we can have the debates. But right now, we need to know where the funny money is.
Yes. And we'll catch you next time on Common Mansplaining, guys. Keep it coming.